What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris, man. I am here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of upstate New York here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a very special guest that's on with me today. She is a sports columnist for USA Today, but she also has stopped at the Miami Herald and at the Washington Post, and she has written books before. Most recently, has written a book about Caitlin Clark called On Her Game. Her name is Christine Brennan, and she is going to be here talking about her why of getting into sports and also getting into journalism. And we're going to ask her some get-to-know-you questions. Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, great, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. Really great to talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my first question to you, Christine, is the same as it always is for everybody that's on here. And that is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Did you have any role models, any inspirations maybe growing up? But ultimately, what is your why for getting into sports journalism?
Yeah, well, I always loved sports and I loved writing, and I put it together. And at a time when girls were not encouraged to love or play sports, I was encouraged by my dad and my mom. I'm the oldest of four kids, so I'm tall, 5'11" and a half, and I was good at sports. And instead of my parents saying, no, you can't do this, which is what most girls heard, women who, kind of growing up around the time I was growing up, I heard, yes, go, do it. So sports was always a wonderful place, a welcoming place for me. And the boys, playing sports with the boys and going to games with my dad, and then my siblings joining in, season tickets at Michigan football, season tickets, University of Toledo, Detroit
Oh,
Tigers games, White Sox, Chicago White Sox, all that. Yeah. So growing up in the suburbs of Toledo. And anyway, so I love this. I loved all about it and everything about it. And I went to Northwestern, got my undergrad, my master's. And I thought, my goodness, could I make a career out of covering sports and talking about sports? And yes, I could. And I felt like I was at home, that this was a very comfortable place for me as a journalist. A couple summer internships in sports journalism, Toledo Blade, my hometown paper, then the Miami
okay.
Herald, and
Awesome.
then started at the Miami Herald. So I think, the why is I just followed my heart, followed my passion, and was encouraged every step of the way at a time when girls and women my age were told no.
Mm,
I was told yes. And that is, it's guided me throughout my entire career, Chris, and it's one of the reasons I was the first president of the Association for Women in Sports Media, to help other women, to encourage them, to give them the positive feedback that I received. I just had loads and loads of positive feedback and encouragement. My mom and dad, teachers, friends, family, college professors, everything. No one said, no, you can't do this, even though I never even really saw a woman sports writer out there. There was no
right.
internet at that. Phyllis George was on TV. She'd been Miss America. I love Phyllis George. She became a friend and a role model, passed away a few years ago.
Hmm.
Loved her. But if that was the career path to get on TV and sports was being Miss America, well, that was not going to be my career path. And, that's okay. And so, but then finding out there were other women out there and wonderful role models for me, 5, 7, 10 years older than me. So yeah, that's how it happened, and I love it more today than the day I started. So just I say this to students and young people all the time: follow your heart, follow your passion. Do find something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And now, over 40 years into this, that's my career, that's my life, and I love it. So I think that's, the why is just to tell stories and to be able to be a journalist, cover big news, break stories, cover issues. Now, so much of my career is sports and culture, which is,
Right.
that intersection of sports and culture. Chris is like a 12-lane superhighway now. So all of that, I think, is the answer to why.
Absolutely. And I'm sure over the time frame of your career, Christine, prestigious career, I should say, that your why has probably evolved, right? It probably evolved from when you started to now, for sure, because it normally does change. It changed with all those years of experience that you've had. I want to ask you because I've read that you were at the Miami Herald and the Washington Post as well. If I'm not mistaken, you've covered some professional championship teams at the Miami Herald with the Miami Hurricanes. I believe they won in '84, if I'm not mistaken, the national championship, and now the Commanders, the Redskins, they won in '87. If you were to cover those teams, how is covering a championship celebration like? Because I can imagine it's probably fun, but it's also probably messy, crazy, just being in the locker rooms and covering a team like that.
Yeah, I did. I covered the Hurricanes that entire season, and then they went on to
Hmm.
win the national title.
Yep.
That I was on deadline, so I was not in the locker room. I mean, I was
Okay.
just on the tightest deadline to write the story. We had an army of journalists and reporters, but I'm not even sure. I mean, college, I don't think it's the same crazy, champagne. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. This was January
Right.
2nd, 1984,
Right. Right.
when Miami beat the Hurricanes beat Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. So, but I did end up meeting up, going to see some people at their post game party at the
Hmm.
hotel, talk to the coach, Howard, whatever. So, but again, I'm a journalist, so I'm not partying.
Right.
I'm interviewing them.
Right.
So, and that's fine. But that was just normal hotel room situation. There was no major party, in
Sure.
the sense of no, just talking to people, and then
Sure.
covering the Washington football team. Yeah, again, you're on deadline, so you're not. I mean, that locker room scene. I may have gotten in down there later, but certainly it's advanced a lot over the last, 30 years in terms of 40
Absolutely.
years almost in terms of the but yeah, I never had goggles, never had a poncho on. I seem to was able to navigate it pretty well and get out of there because again, I'm on deadline, so I'm not, I need to get a couple quotes and then get back and write my stories.
Uh,
So that was
mm,
or my column. So yeah, but it was it's you're covering a team and whether they're going 0 and 16 or 16 and 0, you cover them. I'm not a fan. Um, you cheer for the story, as they say. You're not cheering for the team. So, and
yeah.
all those teams, I covered teams that didn't win titles. I've covered teams
Yep.
that won titles,
Yep.
and I do my job just the same, no matter what.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You see it a lot in obviously the locker rooms. You see sometimes that reporters just get doused. They're interviewing and they get poured on. So I didn't know if that was a thing that happened with you. Maybe you just got in, got out, or stuff like that. But I'm not sure. But definitely have to ask that question. Now you went to Northwestern. I want to know, were there any other schools that you were considering outside of going to Northwestern, or was Northwestern always your number one school?
Always number one. Yeah. Once I read about it in the big thick books that the college guide that no internet back then, and I would read about it and look for journalism, schools that had journalism. I knew I wanted to be a journalist from like sophomore year of high school. I just knew it. I love writing, love sports. Just put it all together, as I mentioned,
Yeah.
and. Uh, and pretty much quickly read that Northwestern had the best journalism school in the country. I'm biased, but it was true. I mean, I didn't, I read about Missouri, and they're very good, but it's a huge journalism school, much bigger than Northwestern's. Medill
Hmm.
has only 150, at least back then, only about 150 in each class, so
Right. Right.
600 total. And Missouri is huge and also a small town. And of course, Northwestern is a small journalism school with Evanston, but also Chicago as your lab. So
Mm.
I wanted that, and the Big Ten, and of course, just the incredible academic reputation of Northwestern. I wanted all that, and so that's yeah. Early decision, applied, got in. End of story.
I love
That's
it.
it, and I knew what.
Mm.
And all these years later, got my undergrad, got my master's, and as I said, and now I'm a professor of practice at Northwestern. So
Mm.
I lecture occasionally, and I'm on the board of trustees. So I'm all in on Northwestern for sure.
Absolutely. There was actually a school I was definitely considering going to get my master's because I was born in Chicago. My mother and father was raised born and raised in Chicago. I even had a talk with J.A. Adande, who is there now, if I'm not mistaken, at Northwestern, about going there.
Music.
Yeah, he's really good. I've known of him for many years as well. And Michael Wilbon too. Known of him for many years as well. But I love asking that question because a lot of people they mention a whole lot of different schools from Syracuse to Missouri to IU, just to name a few. Even the University of Georgia, the Grady School down there, is a great journalism school as well. So I definitely have to mention that.
Okay.
I'm curious to know your day-to-day operations, Christine. And what I mean by that is, typically, how many stories do you typically try to write per day as a columnist for USA Today? I know you probably cover a plethora of sports in your time, but for now, like, what is your day-to-day operations when you wake up? How many stories are you trying to write a day? Does it change week to week? Because as we know, a journalist schedule is not very conventional. It's not like a 9 to 5 kind of thing. You know what I mean? So we know that we work long hours on certain days. So talk to me about your day to day operations now.
Yeah, well, right now I'm doing the book tour, so for On Her Game. So I'm really not writing columns per se. If there was huge news, then I would write it. But if there's no big news, I'm not necessarily writing any columns right now. I've kind of taken a leave from USA Today. I was on CNN earlier. I work for CNN. I work for ABC News. I was on CNN earlier talking about Bill Belichick and that fiasco last night at that first game of his at North Carolina.
Yeah, that was bad.
And
That was
so,
bad.
I it was bad, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I do that. But it depends. So when I'm at the Olympics, I'm writing columns or breaking news, there's no quota of stories. Like I might
Okay.
write one column a day. I might write something might happen, and I'll then I do break a lot of news at the Olympics. I love to do that. I've covered the Olympics probably at this point longer than any other American journalist who's still full time covering them. And so, I have the sources and I love to do that. So, yeah, I think I've got, but there's no set formula. It's each day can be different and that's fine. And you just kind of go with the punch, roll with the punches. It's like receiving a tennis serve, you're on your toes, ready to go whichever way the ball, is served and wherever that takes you. So that's what I love about journalism, that every day is different. You have no idea when you get out of bed what the day's going to be.
Absolutely.
And that really is true. But so yeah, so there's no prerequisite, no nothing, a lot. It's just depending on news. Now, if I'm working on a major investigation, the sexual abuse of figure skaters or others in Olympic sports, then yes, I'm
Hmm.
getting closer and closer to publishing, working with editors on that, double checking everything, talking to our lawyers. It depends on what it is. If someone's, Tiger Woods and were to announce his retirement, I would hang up on you and I'd start writing that column. But I don't think Tiger's announcing his retirement. So it depends on what's happening, and how the news goes and how sports news goes and what I'm needed to do. CNN, ABC, PBS NewsHour, and then of course USA Today.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Now, let's talk about mental health and work life balance. A lot of reporters that I've known since being in this industry have stepped away because their mental health has been affected. Have also stepped away because of work life balance. Can't seem to find a perfect work life balance, and it's just tough. It's tough. A journalism schedule is tough. Journalism is every day of the year. Holidays you don't really get off. You don't really get a whole lot of time to do vacations, and some people find out the hard way, but by getting into this industry and then backing out. I want to ask you, Christine, about your mental health or how you keep your mental health strong, but also still have that work life balance. Because obviously, you're much more than just a sports columnist or reporter. There's a lot more to you than that. But I'm sure that you've been through some things in your career and you've had to navigate some waters. So tell me, how have you done that, and how do you keep your mental health strong and the work life balance?
I love what I do and I love it today more than the day I started. So if you're happy and you love it, to me, that's it. I have never had a time where I've doubted anything that I've done. I grew
Mhm.
up very confident, very comfortable, made choices that were the right choices for me. And so I'm fortunate that way that I did that and done that and it's worked out. And so, um, I'm not always happy, but that doesn't, if something doesn't go right, if there's got to change something, I got to rewrite a column, got to, forget, you're done, and then oh, you're not done, you got to, something else happens. But even then, that's a minor thing. I mean, I'm never ever get, upset about that. That's just part of what I do. And, I've got to write, okay, another column, or I'm at the Olympics. in Beijing, the Winter Olympics in 2022, and
Hmm.
I remember there was one more column I had to write. I was so tired. I hadn't slept probably in 20 hours. So I slept for like 2 hours, got up and wrote this column. I mean, this is the things you do, but I love it. So I'm very fortunate that I've never had any concerns that way at all, ever, because I pick something I love and I do it every day. And then like a book, the serendipity of this book and not having any book, no book proposal, just Scribner saying, write it, offering me a wonderful advance, and off I went. Those are the kind of wonderful, magical moments that I have in my career, and I'm so lucky to
Absolutely.
have. So, never there. I love what I do, so I've never used the term work. I mean, maybe I have, but I don't mean it that way. I get to
Right.
do what I love every day. So, there's no, I don't worry about days off or not days off. I take tons of time off. I'm an athlete, play a lot of sports, kayak. I, you know, do a lot of walking, hiking, shoot baskets with my nieces, I mean, you name it. I do it. A personal
Okay.
trainer, all the things. So, but that's never been an issue for me because I'm so happy and I love what I do.
I love it. No, listen, you're in the very few. There's no question about that of me being on this podcast or having this podcast platform. But it's really good to hear. It's comforting to hear that you really enjoy and you don't really find any problems like that. Well, I wouldn't even say problems, it's just mental health. Because mental health is being talked about a lot more often. Not with just athletes, but everybody in the world. It wasn't talked like that before and back in the day, Christine. Nobody really mentioned or talking about mental health, but now they are. And it's important to
No,
do
no,
so.
it's Chris. Right. Oh, yeah. I've written lots of stories about yes, about swimmers and oh, for sure. You
Yeah.
asked me about me. So
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I totally right. I'm on committees at Northwestern about it for sure. So
Hmm.
yes. Oh, yeah. If you look, people can find I think you could just Google my name, mental health, Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky. You'll see a really long piece I
Absolutely.
did that I'm very proud of on the pressures on the swimmers, the top elite swimmers in our country. So absolutely,
Absolutely.
those stories are there, and continue to cover those issues.
No, you've written some really great stories. There's no question about it. No question about that. What when you said you were a professor at Northwestern? What classes do you teach there?
I'm a professor of practice, which means I a guest lecture. So
Oh,
that's it
different.
at this
Okay.
point. I'm
Okay.
not physically there, but if my life ever settles down, which haha, then I would maybe fly over to Evanston and teach once or twice, once a week or something. But that hasn't happened yet because I'm just doing more and more. I've got new contracts with CNN and ABC, and have my contracts in
Congratulations.
with USA Today.
Yeah.
Well,
No, no.
thank you. And
Congratulations
so,
on that.
oh, yeah. That was, I felt pretty sure it was all going to happen because
Hmm.
we're gearing up for the Olympics. And so my point is that nothing is slowed down. So someday when it does, maybe I'll do more teaching. But right now I'm going full steam. I mean, again, this book took off, no book in July of 2024, and in July of 2025, it debuts at #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. So, I mean, I am living my life of my dreams right now for sure.
That is amazing. Now let's talk about that. The origins of your latest book, On Her Game, about Caitlin Clark. Talk to me. How did the idea come about that you were going to write this book? How many people did you have to talk to? Because I've read, and also have seen videos where you said that nothing was off limits. So I'm pretty sure this was a very interesting kind of, as far as getting the information and having all that information and being able to write this book out. It definitely took a while. But talk to me about the origins of the why did you do this, but also how long, also, I mean, how many people did you talk to?
Sure. So there was no book, as I said, in July of 2024. I had one phone conversation, a Zoom conversation with an editor at Scribner. I
Hmm.
hadn't written a book for Scribner in 19 years.
Right.
I wrote three before
Yep.
the previous editor. So Rick Horgan and I had a chat on July 10th of 2024.
Hmm.
And the next day he called me and no book proposal, no plan, no nothing, and offered me, as I mentioned a few moments ago, offered a wonderful advance. That was the contract he offered me to do it. And so as soon as I came back from the Paris Olympics, I completely changed everything I was going to do in the fall, this late summer, fall, and winter, and went to Indianapolis and worked on this book. And we had to get it done in about 4 months. Wrote it in four
Mm.
months. A quick book is a year. A year is super fast. I did
Right.
this in 4 months.
Right.
Yeah, so extraordinary and crazy, but we did it and came out as July 8th, and I was making changes at the end of April. So it was nothing like it. It's just absolutely crazy. We crashed this book, but then the success has been extraordinary. And so yeah, so I just I did what I do with newspaper columns and with my any work. I just report. This is my eighth book, so I've done, I know how to write a book, and this one was fast and quick, and I did it, and it was fun, and total serendipity, totally unplanned and wonderful. So that's basically the story of this book, and the book tour, hundreds and hundreds of people showing up at different events, just spectacular. It was just wonderful. So great all around, and obviously great result with the New York Times bestseller list. So I feel very gratified and a wonderful, magical time over the last year or so to get that, to write, to report it, research it, write it, get it done, just go so fast. But at this stage of my career, I felt comfortable doing that, and here we are. It worked out very well.
Wow. Okay. I mean, no one would have known that either. No one would have known it only took 4 months. Because I'm thinking a book would at least take, like you said, a year. And I'm not a book writer, but I'm thinking, which is everything that's going on with a natural book that you have to write, is going to take some time. For you to get it done in 4 months, kudos. I mean, that's that is some crazy, you know what? But at the same time, it's pretty cool, pretty extraordinary. I know Pressure is a Privilege is one of the books that I've known of you that you wrote with Billie Jean. Billie Jean is, and that's something that I've read before. This book here, though, I definitely am intending to get this book. I wish you were coming to upstate New York as far as your book tour goes. I don't know how many more stops you have, but I wish you was coming up here because I certainly would love to obviously see you, but also love to get a copy of your book as well. But I'll just have to settle for Amazon, I guess, but that's okay. That's all right. Um,
Well, I tell you what, for you and your listeners, Amazon right now, it's 40% off. It's amazing. It's only $17, I think. So this is a good time to buy it on Amazon.
I guess it is. Wow. Okay. Did not know that. Appreciate that nugget. I want to ask you about advice. What is some advice that you would
Sure.
give someone that wants to be in this industry of sports journalism?
Yeah, well, if you love writing, if you love sports, then this certainly is a great option for a career. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The bottom has fallen out of the newspaper business, as we know.
Sure.
So many jobs that would have existed 20, 30, 40 years ago don't exist anymore. And
Right.
that's tough. Um, but there are, people hiring, and there are small newspapers still, and there's websites, and so always encourage young people, whether it's sports journalism or other, because I was trained I never took a sports journalism class at Northwestern because we
Hmm.
didn't have sports journalism classes at Northwestern.
Wow.
I knew sports. I needed to learn how to be a journalist. Mike Wilbon and I met first day freshman year. We're dear friends. We never had sports journalism classes. We didn't need them. We needed to learn about journalism. And that's how that works. So, I think, continue to work hard. I think for any of us, we're not the greatest reporter in the world, whoever that is. We're not the greatest writer in the world. But, for me, I was willing to work harder than anybody else. So you have to be able to just work super hard, double check everything you write, triple check, quadruple check, check every name over and over again. If you're uncertain about a quote, call the person back, double check the quote with them, not so that they can change it or edit your story or your column, but just as a courtesy if you want to make sure that that quote is accurate. It's okay to have back and forth, phone calls, whatever, with sources. Also, you want to check things with sources, and you may not quote them, but you just want to know information. So if you're a people person, if you love to, ask questions, if you're curious,
Yep.
then journalism is certainly the place for you. Journalism is so important today in our world. Sports is so big. Asking questions, calling people on things, being, holding them to account. issues in sports, be it Colin Kaepernick, be it steroids in sports and cheating, Russia at the Olympics and their continued cheating, all the things that I've covered over the years, all the things that I write about, pay inequity for female athletes versus male athletes,
Mm-hmm.
race issues, of course, sex, everything. All of this, it's in the book. It's all the issues I've covered for years, and I will continue to do so. And if you love doing that and you see a path for yourself, study journalism if in college or get a master's degree, and then just apply everywhere. Check, you got the internet now. We didn't have that. I had to write letters and mail letters with, type them up with my electric typewriter
Right.
and Xerox all of my articles. And then you'd send huge packages, big envelopes to 50 places to try to get a job. When I was finishing up my master's at Northwestern. Now, email, you can just go one person and then you can change the letter just by changing the name, double check, any other references in the letter, and then send out another email, another email. It's so much easier now. So you've got the internet, so you can do that. And you can send out hundreds of letters and emails, query letters, try to find out about jobs, apply for jobs, all the things we had to do via mail. Literally, U.S. mail now it's available. So all those things and more I suggest. But yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful career, life of your dreams. So exciting, so interesting. You can go up to complete strangers and ask them anything. It's just, it's lovely. It's so much fun. It's wonderful. But you also definitely need to, you need to make sure, that this is something you want. You can also go to law school after that because you've learned how to write, you've learned how to creatively think, ask questions. That can be a good impetus for law school as well, if in fact journalism is not your thing. So there's many
Right.
ways to move forward in your career with that journalism background.
Now, you just gave some great advice, Christine. I want to know, what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Well, my mom and my dad, my late parents, were obviously, most important people in my life.
Okay.
And, dad, my dad's advice, I probably first heard it when I was 10, 11, 12, whatever. But it's very simple. This ain't no dress rehearsal, meaning this is life. This is your one shot at, so go for it.
Right.
So I go for it in all ways. This
Mm.
ain't no dress rehearsal. He'd laugh. We'd correct, Dad, ain't, no, this isn't a dress rehearsal. He said, no, you got to say it wrong. This ain't no dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Grammatically
Mm-hmm.
incorrect. He laughed. We all laughed. We did. And,
I like
but
that.
that's it. Just work, just go for it in all ways. This is not the rehearsal. This is it. This is it. Live your life. Do all of the things you want to do. Never regret. Never, think back and wish you'd done something different. Go for it and do it the way you want to do it first time out, because this is the only time you get a chance to do it. And I love that saying. Love that he shared that with me and my siblings, and it's a huge part of my life to this day.
I love that. Wow, this ain't no dress rehearsal. I'm gonna keep that in my mind, Christine. I ain't gonna forget that. That's for sure. I love that. But you're right about that. I want to get you out of here on this question,
Mhm.
and this question is called bucket list. Now, mind you, you've had quite the career writing books, all kind of stories, covering all kind of stories, doing kind of things. I want you to name me 4 stories or events that you would like to do that you haven't done yet.
4. All right. Well, I have not covered the Australian Open tennis or the French Open, Roland Garros. I've seen both of the venues, but I've not been there during tennis. So I think, maybe going down and covering Australian Open or a French Open. So we'll put those. I've covered a lot of Wimbledons and a lot of U.S. Opens. So that was certainly one.
Okay.
I've covered pretty much everything else. It's a little, you know, uh, kind of. I'm trying to think of other things. Tiger Woods. I covered him the length of his career,
Hmm.
but never really. No one really ever got inside his head, what he was thinking, what happened, why he did things he did. So a
Hmm.
sit down with Tiger Woods where I could ask anything and he'd answer it. That would be fascinating to me.
That would be.
Um, uh, yeah. Trying to think. Well, I want to keep covering the Olympics, so I've done that before, but obviously keep
Mhm.
covering all the Olympic games until I physically can't do that anymore. If I'm no longer around, or if I'm just too old or whatever. But that the Olympics is fantastic,
Okay.
um, and well, one of the things that it fascinates me. This is my eighth book, and they're all nonfiction. But time travel, that wonderful science fiction topic of
Mm,
time travel fascinates
okay.
me. So I'd love to write a time travel, book or a little short story, novel, whatever, something like that. I think that would be fun to do. And I've talked a lot about that over the years and kind of put some thoughts together. So time travel novel at some point, or at least a short story, a short novel would be fun to write as well.
That is, I did not
So I think
expect
that's
that,
fun.
Christine. I did not expect that, but I like that. That's something different to think about. Would you ever? Okay, let
Little
me throw this
surprise.
out. Yeah, I'm sorry. Say again.
No, I said a little surprise with the fourth thing. Yeah.
That was a surprise. Yes. Let me throw this out here real quickly. Have you ever thought about anchoring? Maybe anchoring, like maybe like a sports center or something like that.
ESPN offered me a job in 1994 to be the Chicago reporter, which would have been, covering Michael Jordan and what have you, although it would
Hmm.
have involved, waiting outside
Baseball.
of interview him at whatever, and
Right.
other things. And I said no to the job, not because of Michael Jordan, but because I wanted to be in Washington, and I thought I could do a lot of TV work on my own. And so I love being at events and being on the scene and then doing a live hit. And that's what I do with CNN and ABC. Did it today just from home, but on Bill Belichick for CNN. And so I love it. My dad used to say, you got to be able to smell it. We're going to the Michigan Ohio State game in Ann Arbor. We're going. He took, little kids to go to these incredible games, Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler, because he said, with kids, we got to be able to smell it. And so I don't want to be in a studio. I mean, I don't mind if I'm on set with Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, Caitlin. I mean, it's all great fun to be on set, but I'm happy to
Sure.
not have my own show. I really love the variety of the things I get to do and to
Mm.
go places and be on site and witness it. And as my dad said, you got to be able to smell it. So which a big, of course, big smile there. So I love that. So I think I'll keep what I've got now, the way I'm doing what I'm doing. That's exactly what I want to keep doing.
I know I said the last one, but I want you to tell me about your book tour stops. How many more you have? Because maybe people might want to show up. They might want to see you. They might want to come there. So, how many more book tour stops do you have, and where are these places that you're going?
Yeah, well, we're still adding some. So book festival. So I'll be at the Texas Tribune Book Festival in November, I think November 13th or something, but people can find it just in Austin, Texas.
Mhm.
I'll be in Tucson, Arizona, hopefully New Orleans for their book festivals next March. I've got a big event in Washington at American University in a couple weeks, women's sports thing where books will be available there. Um, I think, and certainly talking about the book there at American University in DC. That's in a
Mhm.
few weeks. I don't have the date right off the top of my head. Got a big virtual one in Detroit in a couple days, so anyone on Earth can sign in. I'll keep putting all that on my social media as well for
Okay.
that one, but that's virtual. So I'm not physically in Detroit for that. That's how they wanted to do that. And yeah, a few more. May add some more cities. May get back to Iowa. Lots still being determined over the next month or so. But I will put
Okay.
everything on my social media at C Brennan Sports, first initial, last name Sports, um, and that's on X, Twitter, on Threads, on Blue Sky, and of course uh, Instagram, and then Facebook. So all that will be out there. And thank you for asking. Really appreciate it.
No, I thank you for allocating your time to me today, Christine. This has been a lovely chat. Obviously, I could possibly talk to you for another whole hour, but listen, we're going to let you go and do your thing. Again, I really do appreciate you allocating your time to me and being on my podcast. Please don't be a stranger. I will most certainly stay in touch and most certainly cop your newest book, On Her Game with Caitlin Clark. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh, Chris, thank you very much. Great to be on with you. Glad we finally did this. Thank you, and best wishes to you and all your listeners and viewers. Good luck in everything you do as well, and certainly, definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely. Take care, Christine.
Thank you, Chris. You too. Thank you.